Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We acknowledge the arrival and presence of the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. We are also joined by the Minister with responsibility for finance, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, as well as the Minister with responsibility for the environment, Honorable Kozia Frederick, the Cabinet Secretary and the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister. We are always happy to have you with us. Thank you for accepting, members of the media, once again, the invitation of the Prime Minister to participate in this press conference. Today, we will hear from the Prime Minister, following which we will take your questions. Please welcome Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit.
Morning, everybody, my colleagues and CAPSEC and PS, and of course, the press and the listening public. Again, thanks for joining us at yet another press conference. This is in keeping with our commitment to meet regularly with the media to update you on matters of development and to ensure our people are kept informed on the work of this government, which I have the privilege to lead. I will speak first give an update on the medical school on the Portsmouth campus. I want to begin by saying to you that the progress of the American Canadian School of Medicine, as it prepares to welcome its first cohort of students in September. Following the departure of Ross University from PCAD, we explored several options for a replacement school. We eventually signed an agreement with the operators of the American Canadian School of Medicine, and I'm happy to report that the school is on track to begin operations in September with a roll of approximately 50 students. Enrollment is expected to increase at the start of the spring semester in January of 2024. On Wednesday, May 3rd, last week, I, along with members of the Cabinet and senior public officers, met with representatives of the International Agency for Accreditation and Rating, as well as senior members of the school's administration, to discuss areas of collaboration between the government of Dominica and the university. I assured the accreditors and the university personnel of our government's support for the school's mission to provide high-quality education to medical students from Dominica and abroad. We are seeking to build a strong, mutually beneficial partnership with the school, from which our students and people can realize long-term benefits. We intend to enter into a social partnership agreement with the American Canadian School of Medicine, which will provide them with access to our medical facilities for teaching. The school, in turn, will assist with our efforts to ensure superior delivery of healthcare, and that will include support on the management of our hospitals, our population having access to the medical experts and consultants who will be faculty and staff at the medical school. As a matter of fact, they already started with that venture. And several of our medical and other professionals will be considered for employment at the school. In fact, if you visit the school's website at acsom.edu.dm, a number of job openings have recently been posted. We'll also seek support to develop coursework at the Dominica State College, and Dominican students will be able to access medical studies at the school's PCAD campus with the opportunity to complete their clinical rotations in the state of California in the United States of America. But full scholarships, that is, for Dominican students. According to our agreement, the school will award full scholarships to Dominican students on a yearly basis. From our recent visit to the campus, I am assured that preparations for the first semester are progressing well. The government of Dominica is excited about the economic prospects for Portsmouth and enough over the long term, and we're committed to playing our part to ensure that the new school is a success. So this is some good news for country. Progress is being made with regards to the replacement for us, and we thank God for that. I also want to update you on an important meeting held with high-level French officials last week, including the Prefect of Guadeloupe, the Ambassador of France to come out for Dominica, the Attorney General of Guadeloupe, and commanders of the Gendarmerie in Guadeloupe and Martinique. The Minister for National Security, the Attorney General, and senior members of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force and Customs participated in the meeting. And this meeting was based on security cooperation between the Republic of France and Dominica, and more particularly Martinique, Dominica, and Guadeloupe. And as our closest neighbors and allies, it is important we maintain open lines of communication with the French, and that we are able to dialogue in a frank and honest manner about issues relating to the security of our states. I was privileged to lead the talks during the 5th session of the French-Dominica Joint Security Commission, which addressed a number of matters of training, the conduct of joint actions and operations, immigration, and exchange of intelligence and information, and judicial cooperation. The French have also offered us some dogs that will help with the customs for search of drugs, guns, and cash as well. The French have committed to assisting us with the training of police officers to aid our crime fighting locally, and also to protect our common borders against the threat of irregular migration. We acknowledge that the irregular movement of people across our border to and from the French territories is a matter of concern, which requires the close collaboration of law enforcement in the two countries. Both sides reiterated our commitment to cooperate on critical matters of national security and to strengthen existing mutual legal agreements among our countries. We will also pursue joint judicial cooperation to include the establishment of joint French-Dominica patrols and the development of a system for the more efficient exchange of information. And so we look forward to the continued cooperation between Dominica and the French Republic. And we thank the French for their most generous offer of assistance to us with regards to our national security. As indicated during our last press conference, I intend for Dominica to take the lead in a review of the curriculum in our region's schools to cater for the varying needs and aptitudes of our children. To this end, I had a very constructive discussion with secondary school principals on Monday to discuss the current state of the education system and to formulate strategies for improvement. I was joined at the meeting by the Minister for Education, Honorable Octavia Alfred, and Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Honorable Fenella Wenham Shepherd. We discussed key issues as the quality of primary and secondary education, such as the quality of primary and secondary education, the importance of parental involvement, the need for a more holistic approach to education, and the various challenges faced by teachers and students. I took the opportunity to emphasize the importance of understanding students' behaviors and adapting teaching methods to cater to the different learning styles, abilities, and interests of our students. Additionally, I reinforced my call for a return to civics education as a way of instilling national pride, discipline, and a sense of duty and responsibility among our young Dominicans. The principals made several recommendations, including revisiting of the national curriculum, reallocation of resources for teacher training and education, and improved accountability within the education system. Similar engagements will be held with primary school principals, teachers, and students, following which I plan to institute a national task force to lead the process towards the necessary reforms. I believe the meeting marked an important step in our efforts to transform and modernize the education system, improve the quality of education for all children, and foster a generation of well-rounded, civic-minded citizens who can contribute to our nation's development. I must also mention that when I assumed the chairmanship of CARICOM in July of this year, the matter of education reform will top my agenda, and I will propose a symposium of regional leaders and educators to take action on this important matter. Since last I met with you, the suite of family bills have been passed in the Parliament of Dominica. I view this as a significant achievement and a proud moment, which again speaks to the government's commitment to care for the most vulnerable in our society. Through these measures, we have introduced clear legal guidelines to promote the rights and responsibilities of family members, children, women, spouses, and the elderly, so that they are protected in any and every situation. Once again, I extend congratulations and thanks to those who, over the several years, advocated for these protective measures and worked diligently to develop the legislation. I thank my colleagues for getting behind these bills and demonstrating, in no uncertain terms, this government's determination to protect our nation's children from harm, our women from abuse, and our elderly from neglect. Our efforts do not end with the passage of the bills. Now, we look to bolster our systems and structures to give effect to the new measures. And as previously mentioned, we will start by strengthening our monitoring capacity at the Social Services Department with increased staff and the creation of a separate law enforcement subunit to respond to child abuse and domestic violence matters. I ask for the support of all Dominicans to ensure that these measures are successful. We can all play a role to promote a stable, peaceful society where all citizens can feel safe and protected. I also want to place on public record my appreciation to the leader of the opposition and the members of the opposition, all of whom supported all of the bills which came to the Parliament a couple of weeks ago. I've also directed the Ministry of Social Services to engage in a series of public consultations, town hall meeting style, to further educate and inform the public of the contents of these bills that have been passed into law in Dominica. So there'll be a series of consultations to share with people. I want to remind us in Dominica that we are not immune to the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war or the impact of external economic shocks on our small economies. We are observing with interest what looks like a banking crisis developing in the United States, with the recent collapse of 3 banks, and we are still emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic. Like everywhere else, we are experiencing the high inflation associated with the war, sharp increases in food and commodity prices, and of course, higher fuel costs. We have very little control over these market forces, and our small size and population make us especially vulnerable. So the challenges do exist, and these realities will have to be taken into consideration when planning the 2023-2024 budget. Our approach must be to consolidate the gains we have made since the COVID-19 pandemic, with measures to maintain growth in tourism, agriculture, the construction sector, small business development, manufacturing, and the digital economy. We must also develop a more strategic approach to public sector expenditure, ensuring that our approach to public spending reflects the realities of our times. And also say to us in Dominica that this government is spending an inordinate amount of money as part of our social protection mechanism, ensuring that we provide a cushion with increasing prices in the marketplace. And of course, in our discussion yesterday with the governor, that was pointed out where Dominica is spending a significant percentage of its budget on social safety net, ensuring that people do not slide into poverty, and ensuring that those who are poor are elevated by the social programs of the government. And so the budget will be transparent, and it will promote inclusive economic development, harnessing the advances we have made in renewable energy development, the construction of international airport, hotel development, and agriculture. And as we have always done, we will present a fiscal package which is responsive to the needs of our people, but also a reflection of the responsible approach we have always taken in the management of this country's affairs. There will also be a very clear policy direction of our efforts to advance the blue economy. We believe in the government that there are huge potentials, and a lot of the positive comments we're receiving and accolades that we're receiving from various publications is in large measure due to our respect for the environment and what we're doing in respect to our oceans. And we are working with international partners who have been advising us on some additional policy actions we can take to set Dominica apart insofar as its protection of the marine space and its economy. And of course, the Minister of Finance shall commence consultations with various stakeholders as part of our usual preparation for the budget. And of course, at a later stage, the Minister of Finance will be in a position to give more information on some of the more specifics we will see captured in the budget of 2023-2024. I thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Honorable Prime Minister is ready to take your questions. We'll begin with Curtis Matthew from DBS Radio.
Thank you very much, Dion Dura. Good morning to you, Prime Minister Skerrit. My first question is on electoral reform. Prime Minister, this has been a major talking point in Dominica for the year so far. At the last press conference convened here 2 weeks ago, you did express a little bit of frustration that the report was not yet in as far as Dominica is concerned. What is the very latest, Prime Minister, on electoral reform for Dominica?
As you're right, I said last time, I expressed my frustration on the fact that we have not received the report. The report was promised to us March 23, 2023, in May. And this is concerning to me because we absolutely in our country need to set this issue of electoral modernization, electoral reform aside and focus on equally important matters of the state. This is a commitment we gave, and as I've said to Sir Dennis, and of course, we had the challenges of COVID-19 and the slowdown of this. My view is, at whatever stage the final report is, submit it to people of Dominica, and let us take it from there. It's a matter of what I indicated to you when I attended the symposium in Trinidad. I raised with my CARICOM heads and the Secretary General that I will also want the CARICOM to step in to play a part with a view to advancing some of the fundamental elements of the electoral modernization process in Dominica. And so it's concerning for us. This matter was discussed in Cabinet yesterday again. It's a matter that we discuss every week and seeking a follow-up. We're ready to move with the consultations and the finalization of the bills and the policy position and go to Parliament and enact the new legislation. The drafts have been prepared. So Dennis will have had a first draft. There were some refinements I understand have been done. And our view is submit whatever is available and let the people of Dominica proceed with what we believe to be the fundamental elements of our electoral modernization process. And so, because I don't want anybody to ever think that we are not serious about this matter. So I don't want to say too much on this for fear of saying things I shouldn't say because of my frustration on this. But it is of extreme concern to us. submit the report, submit the draft bills. Let us go to consultation with the Dominican people, and let the Dominican people determine what are the 3 or 4 fundamental elements that can shape the electoral modernization process of Dominica, and give the authority to the Electoral Commission and the Electoral Office to go ahead and implement what Parliament would have approved. But the moment we receive this report and the draft bills, it will go to the public immediately and have a very efficient consultative process, and let us go to Parliament on this. Thank you.
Prime Minister, in hindsight, do you think that Dominican should have been given that opportunity to have prepared such a document? Because I'm hearing a lot that we have capable Dominicans, equally capable Dominicans, who would have been able to submit that report in probably an even faster time.
I agree. I agree that we have highly competent and qualified and trained Dominicans who could have carried out exercise. But we all know the gap, the issues which permeated this issue of electoral reform. And we felt that it would have been better to get somebody who is independent, who is an international jurist, to come in and to assist with advising on the fundamental elements of the electoral modernization process. The work that Sidney has done has been good work so far. But all we're saying is let us submit whatever we have for now, and let us go with it. Part of the problem too is that the drafting of the legislation was not part of the original terms of references. But the recommendation was made to engage an expert legal draftsperson to draft legislation, and that was authorized, and we paid maybe in excess of $70,000 plus US dollars for the drafting of this legislation. These pieces of legislation have been drafted. So my view is submit the drafts, let us start the process of reviewing as Dominicans and determine what are the 3, 4 fundamental elements of the reform. So I think we selected the right person for the job, and I think we selected the appropriate person for the job, and I believe some good work has been done in respect to the reform, but there is a certain anxiety on my part in terms of the delay in the delivery of the report, and ensuring that we can move ahead with this report, so that this, what appears to be a divisive issue, can be set aside, and Dominicans focus on more fundamental issues which is affecting their lives.
If you have to go back, will you go back to the same person?
Yes, I will go back to the same person. I'll go back to the same person. I don't think the issue is in the person. I think the issue is the timing of delivery of the report, and not the personality. Yeah.
Okay, Prime Minister, just moving ahead. I have a few questions. One dealing with many moons ago on one of your Sunday programs, sorry. You spoke about the issue of your house. That issue has been a talking point, and I remember asking that question, and you did say that you were building, and very soon you will give an update, and you will be moving out of, and so on and so forth. You remember that. So I want an update. Dominicans want to know an update as to where we are at this time. The other question I have has to do with the Goodwill Secondary School. The afternoon session, and the Goodwill Secondary School, the children, you see them out there, and I'm not sure if they seem to know whether they go in or they come in. What is the update on the Goodwill Secondary School? And my third question is that we're just about 4 months away from selecting a president for Dominica. Some time ago, you did indicate that you had some persons in mind. Can you give us an update as to where we are at this point in time, sir? Thank you.
Okay, sure. In respect to my house, so, it's ongoing. There was a little stoppage. I experienced probably like every other Dominican sometimes build a home. So you have seen that it stopped for a few months, and I'm hoping to recommence next month. Hoping to recommence next month. But it's on track. It's on track, and I'm hoping that once it recommends that we can complete it efficiently. So it's ongoing, and I look forward to its completion, and so on. And I'm sure it will become a place where many Dominicans will be entertained, as they have in my home in Vegas and so on. So that'll be done. In respect of Gulu Secondary School, I want to really place on public record my immense gratitude to the principal of the Gulu Secondary School, Ms. Graham, and of course the staff of the Gulu Secondary School. This principal is exceptional, and she has an intrinsic commitment to students and students' welfare, and the depths that she goes into to provide support and care for the students is something that I believe every citizen needs to exemplify, in a sense, and display. And so the shift system with Gulu Primary School is really not what we should continue to have. I mean, the students have less hours at school, and of course the afternoon session, especially with the afternoon heat, has a challenge. We have directed the Ministry of Education to purchase additional fans and ensure that the students the issue of the heat can be minimized there. As it is now with the new Goodwill Secondary School, the Chinese government is now going through the procurement process, the tender process, and we're hoping that in the month of June, based on the schedule that they provided to us, that they will issue a contract to a firm for the construction of the Goodwill Secondary School. In the scheme of things, though, all of these 7 schools are priority for the government, because you're talking about Tebow Primary School, Tetmon, Goodwill Secondary School, Sineku Primary School, the extension of Sineku Primary School. You're talking about Cali Bishop Primary School, and you're talking about the new school for the students of Bellevue Chopin, Pichler, and Piditsaban, who are now at Bellevue Chopin. So the new schools. All of these schools, in the circumstances, are most urgent and very critical. But in the scheme of things, we believe that top priority will be given to the Goodwill Secondary School in terms of start. In the next few weeks, we're going to move with the clearing of the site, so to demolish the old structures of the existing Goodwill Secondary School, so that we can get the site ready for the Chinese and make it ready for when they come in to Dominica. Okay, but we're on this. The ministry, both the ministries of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Education, are in constant dialogue and contact with the Chinese embassy, and they've been very gracious and helpful to us in that regard. On the issue of president, I thought this matter was concluded. I thought that I'm going to be the president. I'm supposed to resign in June, and so that the new prime minister can have consultation, the leader of opposition as Skerrit as the nominee. But treating your question in a serious manner, we will have consultations with I will have as Prime Minister, as per the Constitution. I will have consultations with the leader of the opposition in the month of June on the government's nominee for president. The government has concluded on a nominee with the several names that we've had, and we've concluded on somebody, but I can only disclose the name after I would have spoken to the leader of the opposition in respect to the office that she holds and the prescription in the Constitution with regards to that consultation. And so after I would have consulted the leader of opposition, then I will make the announcement to the public in respect to that is to say, if the leader of opposition and myself agree on one nominee, she may have people, I don't know. If she doesn't, then, and she agrees with my nominee, then the Constitution speaks to the process. If she doesn't agree with my nominee, and she has somebody who will nominate, then the Constitution prescribes the process of electing a president. But all I can say is that the selection of this president, or the person who has been identified, is somebody I am hoping, I believe, that the entire country will be well pleased of. That's the most I can say. Yeah. Well, I know you like breaking news, so. After June, I'll say more. All right? And maybe I'll give you the breaking news, seeing that you asked the question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Leila Langford, DBS News. Prime Minister, you have made a reform of the school curriculum in the Caribbean as a priority. Why do you think this should be a Caribbean-wide transformation, and what elements of reform do you expect to see over the next year? My other question, the tenure of CREED is expected to come to an end this year. Prime Minister, how would you assess CREED's performance, and what do you expect to replace it with?
Yeah, thank you. The issue of the reform of the education system, we believe, and this was proposed at the Heads Symposium, and in all credit to all of the heads present, there was unanimity in agreeing that we need to revisit the education system. All of us, with the exception of Suriname, have a British system of education that has been with us for a very long time. And our education system is fashioned, in 1945 post the Second World War. And there has not been really any dramatic examinations of the education system. All we've been doing over the years is add to it. You have a house and you keep adding pieces to it and so forth. And you'll end up having problems because you're not the same construction, they're not aligned, you may have wood on one side, concrete on the other side. And so this is what it is. And it has served us well. We have produced very top students in the Caribbean. So it's not that every element of the education system is not good. No, we're not saying that. We say let us have an examination of it. The good parts we keep, and those that we think that are not relevant to today's world, that we need to make a shift from it. When you look at the Caribbean schools, the moment you enter into a secondary school, your focus is on CXC syllabus. And education was never about preparing children for exams. It is always about preparing children for the world of work, the world of interaction with the rest of the world, and the ability to confront world challenges, and the ability to identify opportunities that they can take advantage of and use their knowledge to enrich themselves, to empower themselves. That's what education is supposed to be. And all of the principals yesterday, for example, agreed that there is too much of focus on education, on examinations. And therefore, there has to be a review of the examinations, processes, and systems. The school system must make more time available for collaboration, joint problem solving among students, physical activity, sports, physical education, the fundamentals of life, because we have to develop a holistic child. And so I believe that we can make progress because one, at the heads level, everybody is in agreement. At the ministers for education level, everybody's in agreement. And interested and importantly, at the school levels, the teachers, the principals, the students, the parents, we all agree that something has to be done about this. And I think, so the idea now is for us to identify what are the elements of the system that we need to transform, what are the paradigm shifts we need to make in the education system. And so the issue of violence in our communities, if we only have a competitive spirit in the school, so no opportunity for extracurricular activity, no opportunity for students to solve problems together, if everything now is about who will get an A and who's going to pass and who's going to stay down and who's going to get a job, because you need 4 levels and so forth, then we find a situation where people do not know how to solve problems together. You know, and I think we have to make time for some of the basic things. I mean, the whole issue of civics in the school system. Students must be able to know the fundamentals of a constitution, their rights, what are their responsibilities. You see what I'm saying? We cannot be in a world where climate change is ravaging our country and the greatest threat to us, but our students do not know what climate change is. They don't understand the impact of climate change in our society because our system is not preparing students to deal with those issues, because it's not yet a CXA exam. You understand? And so these are some of the things that we need to look at, and so there will be collective action, I believe. I'm confident, and bringing the University of West Indies on board, the University of Guyana, all of the universities within the Caribbean space, the experts from both within the Caribbean and outside the Caribbean, so that we can put people together who are experts at education reform, who can assist us in identifying the fundamental elements which they believe that we need to shift away from, and some of the things that we need to include to make the children more holistic and more productive and so forth. Because we have to be concerned about the welfare and well-being of the children, and to better able to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them. So I look forward to this. As you know, it's something I've been speaking about for the last 23 years. I'll give you an example. For example, the new structure we have in the secondary schools today, that's a structure I submitted in 2002 when I was Minister of Education. Recognizing that we need to place more resources at the disposal of the students, human resources, so that students can have an opportunity to go and speak to somebody if they have a problem. If they're doing well in the subject, they need help, they need guidance. Students must be able to go to an office and to be able to speak to people. Because we all have challenges, we all have our frustrations, and no matter how small you are, you can go into a state of depression for one reason or the other. And students must feel that they have people who they can talk to. And so while we have done the new structure in secondary school, there's going to be a second point of ensuring that everybody understands what the new structure means, and the terms of references, and the job description, so that we have more humans. Not everybody who has to be in the classroom teaching. We must have a group of people there. And I remember in going to grammar school, we had Miss Murphy at the grammar school, who we used to go and see. Nice short lady, very pleasant, and we go to her office and sit down there with her and talk, and she'd walk around during break time, and I believe every student at the grammar school had a perfect relationship with Miss Murphy. I'm not sure if she's still alive or she's still alive. She's in New York. May God bless her soul and so on. But she has done very well for Dominica and for Dominican students. So these are the kind of things that we need to focus on. And so I'm confident that we will get to some point. At least the conversation has started. At least the consultation has started. We start talking about it. And as I said to the principals, my comments are not directed at anybody. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody when I speak, when I raise concern about the education system. Because ultimately I'm responsible as the Prime Minister. But it's a conversation we need to have sincerely and focusing on the student, the child. The child. What our children we want to bring out there, and ensure that every child is given opportunity to learn and to do well, because the Bible says we all have our gifts. And I believe that the education system must be able to identify your God-given gift and set you on a path that you can take advantage of this gift that the Lord has given to you for your own survival, for your own empowerment, and for your contribution to the wider society. And so that is the mission that we have to focus on. Okay. In respect to creed, yes, creeds. We have extended its lifespan by 2 years. That is coming to an end. I believe, all things considered, creed has done a remarkable job in setting the framework and specific actions for building resilience within our country. It has brought tremendous international recognition and attention to Dominica's efforts and mobilization of resources and interest in our resilience agenda. It was able to develop the strategy, national strategy, the national plan. We were able to cost the plan with support from the World Bank. So Dominica might be one of the only countries in the world that has a national strategy on building resilience within the country. And when we speak about resilience, we're not only talking about the physical space. We're talking about fiscal policy or fiscal policies, or our economy, or health systems, or education systems, or forests, or marine space. All of the elements have been looked at and part of our national strategy. So I think I would give CREED high marks for its work. What we're seeking to do, what we've been doing during the life of CREED, is to mainstream resilience, so that it is embedded in every department, every ministry of government, so that the work continues. Because CREED never took away the ministry's work; they were just there to work alongside and complement and assist. So every ministry was involved in the resilience building, so that it is part of the ministry's work program and strategy. What we're seeking to do as well in the Ministry of Planning is to have sort of a smaller CREED that will ensure that the legacy interventions by CREED are paid attention to, so that there'll be a structure in the Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Economic Planning, that will oversee the continued implementation of our resilience plan, because it's ongoing work. You'll never be able to complete it, because there'll be additional elements that you'll have to take on board, and to ensure that we can tie all ministries and government departments to what we're doing, continue to do. And of course, there'll be a project implementation unit that will be attached to the Ministry of Public Works that will deal with project management and project implementation, which sometimes is the major challenge for the government. Some things take too long to start, and when they start, they take too long to complete. And so the whole Ministry of Public Works is going to be reconfigured, where the Ministry of Public Works, the engineers and the architects will move away from designing. We'll do that. We'll use the private sector to do those things for us, and the Ministry of Public Works will be used more for project management, ensuring quality assurance, and ensuring that the contractors keep to the construction and planning codes in building. So it will be more of a ministry that will deal with the project management, because project management is so critical to saving money. And if we manage well, then we can spend less money on some of the projects, because the longer you spend on this project, the more money you spend on this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Prime Minister, my next question is about the Citizenship by Investment Program. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have expressed gratitude to the United States for assisting Dominica with the Citizenship by Investment Program. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us whether that engagement between Dominica and the U.S. on the program is ongoing? And just to ask a final question, you mentioned the budget coming up very soon, the national budget 2023-2024. Is the Prime Minister at this time, based on the situation around the world, is the Prime Minister tempted in 2023 to introduce new taxes to its people?
Well, actually, you ask me so famous that, you know. Taxes. Okay, in regards to the CBI and the United States, you know, the U.S. has been very helpful to us, and very grateful, and we're very grateful for this. As a matter of fact, this morning I spoke to some of the prime ministers as we're following up on the implementation of some of the measures we agreed in the United States, the 6 points that we agreed. In Dominica's case, we have implemented 5 of the 6. The final one I'm putting the structure in today for this. So essentially the structure is there, we just have to get it going. So we're implementing those measures within the government system. So they've been very helpful in drawing to our attention, based on their own assessments, what they believe we need to put in place as a region to give greater comfort to them insofar as the concerns which they have. And I think one is getting the sense that our European friends are sort of leaning on the recommendations of the United States as well. And this is a question I have put to them. I said to them, look, the US has come to us. They have examined our CBI, because I invited the Treasury Department to Dominica in October last year to come and do your independent assessment for us, do your independent audit, speak to whoever you want to speak to, and identify for us the concerns which you have, and make recommendations to us as to how you believe that we can address it. Because we're running a transparent program, contrary to what some people may say. And comment on that, those recommendations came on place, some of which we had already implemented. So some of the things that we had implemented before the United States came into Dominica. And so we agreed on the 6 points. And so we've put a question to the European Union and said, look, either you make specific recommendations to us as to what can we put in place to mitigate against your concerns, or are you prepared to sign on to the recommendations of the United States, which you believe would satisfy your concerns? So we're hoping to propose a meeting with the European Union for June of this year, where the heads of the countries which have CBI in the Caribbean can sit with them face to face, so that whatever questions they have, whatever concerns they may have, pose them to us directly, so we can give you an explanation. Because in a lot of these instances, people sometimes make comments based on misinformation, based on misinformation. And I'm not saying that to set aside whatever concerns any country may have, because a country looks at its own national interests, and I respect that. But just to say that I believe that in the Caribbean we have legitimate, above-board, transparent programs. And this is an evolving process issue. There'll be challenges that will come in the world that were not existing yesterday, and therefore you have to be mindful of those additional challenges. And so we look forward to the engagement of the EU. The American Treasury Department will be coming to the Caribbean in July of this year. As agreed, in February, they'll come to see where we are in respect to the implementation of those measures. And what I've said to the heads, and they've agreed, is that we should get the governor of the central bank and the director general of the OECS to come in and to ensure that what we agree on collectively, each of us is doing it. So that and whatever challenges we may have, if we fall short of this, what can be done to assist in getting it going? Because it's absolutely important that all of us do it and all of us implement it, because I believe the United States came to us sincerely and recognizing the importance of the program to us, and they're seeking to assist us in elevating the good governance principles of our CBI programs. And I'm very grateful to them for that. I think I have shared with you the 6 points which the United States submitted to us. So this work ongoing. Obviously, maybe tomorrow when they come in July, they may see additional things that we need to do, and we're prepared to engage in this. And so it's important for us in Dominica to engage in similar discussions as citizens, because we have to understand and appreciate the importance of the program to us. And if we say we love our country, if we all say we want Dominica to do well, then we should not, in the same vein, be seeking to besmirch and undermine the program that is helping our very existence in Dominica. There's nothing wrong in asking legitimate questions. There's nothing wrong in asking a question for clarification. But when we deliberately, knowingly misinforming and denigrating and undermining the program, that is where the issue is. And I think Dominicans need to stop it. It's no longer help us. Because whether I am the Prime Minister or not, whoever succeeds me is going to have the same challenges to face with. Whether Labour Party is in government or not, whoever becomes the government of Dominica is going to have the same challenges. Maybe even more, because I may have a little more experience and I may know how to maneuver things better. A bit. the same challenge will be there. I may have more friends externally, but same challenges will be there. They're not going to go away. And when you look at the Caribbean, opposition parties that have opposed the CBI program, when they come into the government, they hail it as the Messiah. they have not done away with it because it is too important for their survival. And some of the things they were saying in opposition, they now have to backtrack, you know. But we're very grateful to the Americans. I think some people are a little bit surprised that the U.S. love me so much. but we have very good relations with the United States of America. There's something we don't agree on, but I'm sure my ambassador friend is watching from Barbados there, you know. So we have excellent relations with the United States, Dominica, and this government.
PM, whilst you're on that, before you move to the second part of Kitty's question, any moves that are replacing the person at the helm of the CBI program, because we're hearing lots of talk out there, any moves that replacing the individual?
Yeah. The CBI, we're going through a process of restructuring. So we're putting in additional staff at the CBI to deal with monitoring, to deal with reporting, so that we can have a division of labor. We're bringing in new staff, additional staff. We're exposing our staff to more training, especially where with anti-money laundering training to satisfy both our internal requirements and external requirements. I have read and heard views that the U.S. or some governments have written to say to fire this person. I have not received any such letters. I have not received any such letters. Neither have that have been whispered to me in my ears, or by WhatsApp, nothing at all from any foreign government. There'll be some promotions taking place within the program, and this will allow some people to come in. So I will make those announcements in the next few days and so on. But nobody's been fired from the CBI program at all. There's no basis for it. There's no argument for it. There's no reason for it. We are beefing up because of this. We have to deal with so many of the external entities on an ongoing basis and so on. So we are increasing the management of the CBI. We will bring in somebody with tremendous banking experience and management experience to help, especially where the issue of compliance is concerned and so forth. But nobody will be fired. There'll be people will be elevated, and if somebody is elevated, then somebody has to fill the position of he or she who is elevated.
You keep using the word fired, but you did mention though that you've been hearing talk, and the U.S. government, or you have not received any documentary stuff.
That's gossip. That's not true.
But in hearing that, you must be concerned.
No, I'm not concerned. I mean, I'm not concerned. It's unfortunate that we are partnering with people who have no interest in Dominica. Or I should say, there's some elements in Dominica who are partnering with people who have no interest in Dominica, who have never been to Dominica, to seek to undermine our country. And I think it's a deliberate attempt, and I'm saying to those who are doing it, that they must cease and desist from doing that. We can't always, there's some of us in this country can't always be quoted as being negative and destructively so, knowing that when hurricane hit us, Kalai, everybody got affected, you know. Everybody got affected. So if the CBI were to go, God forbid, do you believe in the only person in Dominica who's going to be affected is Roosevelt Skerrit? No. The CBI is underwriting a significant portion of our public sector investment program. This is what building homes for us. This is what helping us invest in agriculture so that we can become more independent. This is what investing in tourism so that we can generate more jobs for our people. Bringing more people in Dominica, and like money can circulate, we can create jobs. This is what's going to build our international airport. to allow us to be able to promote Dominica as a real mature destination, that we can have direct flights from major source markets, that we don't have people to be cramping up on a little plane from St. Martin to stop in Guadeloupe. When you get to Guadeloupe, they tell you, well, it cancels. You have to find a place in Guadeloupe to sleep. Someone will sleep in the airport. And so we have to try to move away from this so that we become more economically independent and generate more tax revenues, so that as time goes by, we'll be less dependent on the CBI program. That's what we're doing there. Using the money to educate our people, building schools, building hospitals and health clinics, outfitting them with the most modern technology and equipment. This is what we're doing. I'm not the only one who goes to the hospital to get medical care. We all go there. I'm not the only person who's going to fly for the airport. We're all going to go there. I'm not the only one working at a hotel. Many of our family members are working at a hotel. Or farmers or fishermen rely on this, or taxi people rely on this. So I have no problem with somebody asking a legitimate question or seeking clarification. But there's a group of people, a small group of people in Dominica, who are resident here and overseas, and aligning themselves with foreign people who are not Dominican citizens, who are not born in Dominica, who have never been to Dominica, and seeking to undermine the program. And this has been done deliberately, because when the statements are made, then it is captured in this blog, and it's captured on Facebook and Dominica Politics, and it's carried all over the place. People read those things. And it's not, I am not Dominica, I'm a citizen of Dominica. I'm resident in Dominica. I don't have no intention of going to work anywhere else in the world or residing anywhere else in the world. I'm going to live and die in Dominica. But I'm the only one who is in that position. The majority of us are in that position. Not every one of us has a green card who can say, okay, I'll go to America, whether we're unemployed in America or not. It's our country. That's where our children will live and go to school. And therefore there has to be a greater sense of national spirit. We can't always find ourselves, into this internecine politics and tribalism. It's not helping. So it's not helping any one of us, and I'm hoping that we can move away from this and let us have a mature argument, a mature discussion. There's no question I am afraid of anybody asking me in this country on any issue. There are questions that people ask me, they shouldn't ask of me, but that's besides the point. But I am here, and I have been the most transparent prime minister in the history of Dominica. There's no prime minister in Dominica who has subjected himself more to questions than Roosevelt Skerrit. We never heard from Michelle. Once in a while in Parliament, we heard from Michelle. And when Michelle was coming for tone and the voice that she had, I mean, men afraid. The big men used to be afraid of Michelle. May her soul rest in peace. She was my prime minister. Yeah, please, Matt. Yeah.
No, there's the next question.
The taxes. Well, every budget we prepare in Dominica, there's a justification for taxes. Every one of them. There's a justification for increasing taxation. There's a justification for new taxes. But what you have seen over the last 20 years is that we've been reducing taxes in Dominica. We've been eliminating taxes in Dominica. And so we, contrary to our many things, we're not a very high tax country. You understand? So I cannot say now, today, that there'll be no taxes or no increases in taxes. I think it is something that the government has to rationalize. We will have to look, as I said in my opening comments, at expenditure and rationalizing expenditure. So we'll have to look at a number of different measures if we're not going to have new taxes. And of course, one has to look at the environment that we're in. Can people afford taxes? My simple answer to you now is no, is what I'm saying. So there's always a case for taxes, but you also have to look at the environment at the time, the circumstance at the time. And with the increase of food prices, because of the imported inflation, it is something that the government has to be mindful of. Okay, but there are some things I believe that we need to do more efficiently. And I've been speaking to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Finance on this, and we've been having this, and we're going to put systems in place. As a matter of fact, the Minister has made a request to the Central Bank to assist us with that, and of course the International Monetary Fund, to come in to look at our revenue collection systems. Because we believe that if it's more efficient, would raise more revenue. There are too many empty spots. And the ministries outside of the Ministry of Finance, which have a revenue stream, they are not paying sufficient attention to the revenue stream. And so this is something that we're going to put systems in place, that the ministries outside the Ministry of Finance must play a greater role in collecting government revenues and ensuring that in accordance with the Finance Administration Act, there's proper reporting of those revenues that are collected and increase, because every dollar will count, especially in this period when government expenditure has increased. So even the social programs, Curtis, the social safety net is very high. Spending is huge. We increased it with regards to lowering the age from 70 to 65 for non-pensionable people. It's costing us a lot of money. The Yes UK program is a significant cost, and it's a recurrent expenditure. They're not capital investments. They're recurrent. So every month you have to find this money for this. The free medical care, while you receive it free, but the Treasury has to pay for it. We pay for the medicines. We pay for the supplies in the X-ray department, and the radiology department costing a lot of money because you must have supplies. You can't reuse something. You can wash it and use it again. When you use a film, you cannot take it, erase it like a cassette and use it again. We're moving into technology so that you use less of these things and so forth. But even in that, the technology itself, you must keep abreast, because every year there are changes to the software. And you must change it because you have agreements with the suppliers and so forth. So you cannot go to another supplier and modify it. You must go to the supplier to have it effective, because the particular codes and et cetera, et cetera. So all these things are huge costs, but these investments are necessary. The issue of housing, we expend significant sums of money in housing. But as we've said before, last year, part of the reset, those who will be receiving homes will have to pay something for those homes. You have to pay something. It will not be something that would make it prohibitive, but you have to pay something in recognition of your own contribution to the homes. And even new homes we're building, outside of what is currently there, when continuing homes, there are certain elements that you'll have to do yourself. Because the issue of kitchen cabinets, we build a house for somebody, the person refusing to move in because they don't have kitchen cabinets. Gone are the days when we had some nails in the wall and or pots and pans were hanging from them. People want cabinets and they want blue maho and they want mahogany and they want poye and all these things, made. So I don't think we should continue. If I give you a home, I give you a shelter. The other elements of the shelter you'll have to provide for yourself. You understand? So in many countries they do that. They build a house where it's not painted, it's not tiled, you have no cabinets. You understand? And you'll use the carpet for the time being until you can buy the tiles. What's wrong with carpet? We always saw carpet in our homes. Let's use the carpet. Maybe even easier to clean. You mop a carpet, you're okay. So these are some of the things that we're revisiting. The issue of water. Dowasco is spending more than it's making for water. So the water that Dowasco brings to your home is being heavily subsidized. Heavily subsidized. And I think that we need to bring it to a level that it makes more sense to us who are consumers of water. So I believe that Dowasco has written to us, and we're looking at it, and also being transparent with you on this. I believe that though we may not go with the full recommended rate increase that Dowasco is proposing, but for Dowasco to continue bringing clean potable water to our homes, we must be able to help the WASCO to pay for this. For the last several months, the government has been paying to the WASCO a significant sum, which is a subsidy in a sense because we subsidize the water. It's lower rates, but the WASCO has to repay its loans. And we have been paying the WASCO loans for the last year and a half. And so we'll have a conversation in the public, get a sense from you, and maybe bring the rates a little bit up, because when you look at it, when you look at how much money you pay for water, it's nowhere close to what it costs to bring the water to your home. And even when we have it at home, we waste it so much, which is something that we have to be mindful of, conservation of water in Dominica. And we go into the shower, we turn it on until we leave it. We brushing our teeth, we let the pipe run, then when water goes, we're using a half of water to brush our teeth. We're using half a pill of water that will teeth to bathe. All right. Anybody else, please?
Yes,
Yes, please.
Prime Minister, good morning. A little off the beaten questioning this morning, but still in reference to economic development and growth. We hear a lot about government safety net programs and talking positive reviews from international and regional organizations where Dominica's economic performance is concerned. But what is the drive towards industrial enterprise development? And some people are concerned that the programs that are being implemented right now is more or less hand-me-downs, handouts, and so on. And people are concerned about job creation, real jobs where they can have their money in their pocket to do what they want and to lend, but more in line of industrial development, developing industries that can lend to export, and export would mean foreign exchange for the country. What is the drive towards that? We speak of agriculture, looking towards it bringing in $700 million by 2030. How much of that will go into developing the agricultural sector? As a matter of fact, industrializing the agricultural sector, which is what most countries depend on for their export development and earning foreign exchange for the country. And what is the government? Is the government looking into that enterprise, industrial enterprise development, and how that can contribute to economic development and the GDP?
Yeah, thank you. It's an important question, and I'm happy for it. It is clear that we have a very robust and expansive and expensive investment taking place in Dominica by this government. Take, for example, tourism. Based on government's policies, we have seen a dramatic increase in hotel rooms in Dominica. And not only hotel rooms, but international branded hotels at the 5-star level. All of which, majority of which, have been facilitated by government policy. More jobs for people. More selling of produce by farmers. More selling of fish by fishermen. More business for taxi operators, tour guides, restaurateurs, etc., etc. We're doing this. And of course, with the investment in the international airport, first of all, with the investment in Douglas Charles, to allow for night landing, to allow for the expansion of the airport, to allow for now direct flights from North America, which never existed before. And as a result of the direct flight from America, Dominicans are getting an appreciation of what the international airport can bring to Dominica. And looking at what the number of passengers American Airlines have been able to bring in, and based on what the hoteliers are saying to me, not the Ministry of Tourism, the hoteliers are saying to me, these are new people who come into Dominica as a result of this direct flight. And of course, the construction of the international airport. When you look at agriculture, the vast investments in agriculture, with the loan funds that we've taken from the World Bank, plus funds that we utilize from the Citizenship Investment Program to invest in agriculture, and of course, our local tax revenue invest in agriculture, providing direct cash and material support to farmers. The construction of farm access roads. In 2022, we spent $22 million on farm access roads. the introduction of the pack houses in Portsmouth and in Roseau, where we're buying produce from farmers to facilitate export, in addition to what Dexter has been doing. Providing loans at the Aid Bank. Prior to this, we had several facilities at the Aid Bank for small business. During COVID and prior to COVID, for manufacturing, for agriculture, for tourism. Investing in this. And then we have now 27 million at the Aid Bank for small business development, small and medium-sized business investments at 3% interest rate. And several Dominicans have taken advantage of those loans. We're setting up a small business unit. We have seen, the record will show, and unfortunately sometimes these things are informal, so many of these businesses are not registered. So you won't get the empirical data because they're informal. But when we look at the dramatic rise in the increase of the number of small enterprises in Dominica, it is because of the government's focus on small business development. One, providing direct cash grants to small business operators, and of course concessionary loans, technical support to them, and of course they have access to fiscal incentives license for businesses making less than $250,000 a year. A special facility has been created to fast track and minimize the hassle in terms of application for concessions and the granting of the concessions. So you have this. The investment in geothermal. This government has expended millions of dollars in geothermal to spur greater economic activity. Because with the high cost of electricity by use of fossil fuel, there's no way we can continue to survive on this. And so while this has been an exceptionally expensive venture for us as a government, we have remained true to it and committed to the geothermal development, because we believe that if successfully implemented, and we pray to God that it will be, it can help transform the economy of Dominica and attract a whole set of other associated investments that we are now articulating by way of policy and identifying the resources to mobilize. The investment in infrastructure itself, the road network in Dominica. If we do not have roads, there's no development. There's one economist who said so. The road to development are roads. And people used to criticize us about roads. But we understand how important the road infrastructure is to sustain tourism, to sustain commerce, to sustain agriculture. So we have those things. The development of the tourism sites and ensuring that we modernize the facilities, we improve the facilities, access to these facilities. All of these things are efforts towards things. Investing in health is not only about ensuring that we have our citizens have access to health care, but those persons who are coming to Dominica, either as tourists or want to have a second home in Dominica, one of the first questions they ask is about the health system. And we have spent a significant amount of money that can sustain the social aspect and the economic aspect of Dominica. In Dominica. Another aspect, my dear friend, that we don't talk about a lot in Dominica is regards to the fiscal responsibility of this government. The government's prudent management of the state's resources, the prudent management of the country's finances. Because if you have a reckless government in place, if you are a government that does not respect certain clear strictures, especially fiscal policy, we can have a problem. Because if the government has problems, everybody in Dominica will have a problem. If you can't pay your debt, people won't invest because there's no confidence in there. And these things. And the digital economy. We contracted a loan of 79 million EC dollars, right, from the World Bank to have a transformation of our digital space in Dominica. Because we believe that area, digital economy, can cause now the world to be more of our marketplace. So a Dominican who has left school doesn't necessarily have to apply to a company in Dominica to work. It could be a company in Europe and America. And this is why so far, under this program, we have over 140 young Dominicans who have gotten jobs from American companies working from their homes in their respective villages in Dominica and making more than $800 a week. Because we put in place the infrastructure for this through the digital economy. And by transforming the digital space in Dominica, there are huge opportunities for our people. We invested over $2 million, or $2.5 million, $2.6 million to retrofit a building in Portsmouth for Clare Harbor to create 300 jobs in Portsmouth. And they are saying to me they can expand to 800 in Portsmouth, providing that they can get people to fill those positions. If we do not invest this money, we will not get any 300 jobs. And we invested this money in the heart of COVID. In the heart of COVID, we invested. We also have to look at our dramatic investments in our national security. If you don't have security, you have a problem for economic growth. And so, time doesn't allow me to expand on the other areas that we are investing to expand the economy, create better paying jobs for young people in particular, and supporting the issue of agro-processing. Yes, Dominicans have always yearned for a massive factory and so on. But I don't think having a massive factory is necessarily the answer to agro-processing. When you take all of the cottage industries and the number of jobs that they all create, you take cocoa, for example. Look at how many people are involved in the processing of cocoa and now taking it to chocolate in Dominica. And that's a growing enterprise. Moving away from the gentleman there in Calabishi who was the Lone Ranger in this for many years, making some of the finest cocoa in Calabishi all quietly. I think it's Dr. Honeychurch's uncle. Number of other people who have invested in cocoa. And so we have people who had no interest in farming who have invested dramatically in agriculture these days in Dominica because there are opportunities, and all of which are facilitated by government policy, government material support, government financial support, and so forth. And with regards to the blue economy, I indicated, and the minister certainly will articulate those policy positions in his budget address on certain actions we can take the way the blue economy is concerned that can help create significant jobs for people in Dominica. It's already creating jobs, but we believe we can multiply this in a dramatic way by making some very progressive, groundbreaking decisions that can set Dominica apart. Where our whales are concerned, where our marine space is concerned, the protection of our coral reefs, the protection of our fishing, etc., can make a dramatic change. The issue we have, my dear Mr. Dura, in the government is that I think the government is too silent. The government needs to speak to people more. Let the country know more of what we're doing. Like saying also to the ministers, they need to speak more and speak to the people, share with the people what we're doing. Because I get the impression that they too are taking all what we're doing for granted. And in difficult times, I could spend the whole day and night, and maybe next week, we're still there, talking about if I were to go in other areas that the government is investing to grow the economy, expand the economy, create more jobs. And that is our objective. This is why we're trying things. We're trying things, and many of them are working. And so even when people say we have too many hotels, we don't have, if you're going to build the airport, we have to have rooms for people to come in. Yes, my friend, please, sorry.
Mr. Prime Minister, good morning. Gemma Shemelo, DBS News. Dominica continues to receive high rewards in sports. However, we have heard from various associations that the lack of facilities and the lack of training areas is a problem in athlete development. from the government standpoint, what is being done for the sustainability of sports in Dominica?
Well, sometimes when you have more, you end up doing less, and when you have less, you do more. You know, I look at St. Joseph, for example, and how many cricketers, internationally acclaimed cricketers that we produce on the playing field in front of the police station there in Matthews Hall. And I look at Grand Fond, how many footballers we produce, but we have a playing field that cost the Treasury $1.8 million to build. We look at La Plaine and the investments that we've made. You know, Benjamin's Park, when we became the government of Rosie Douglas, Benjamin Park was a swamp. You know, there was a swamp. Whenever it rained, coming from PSS, we couldn't pass the street there. You know, we all of our shoes and our pants would get wet because it's flooded in Portsmouth. We've rebuilt this place, and to the point where even international cricket is being held at the Benjamin's Park. And you look at Granby and the investment that we're making in Granby. Woodford Hill, a small village in Woodford Hill. In one go alone, outside of what we had spent previously to acquire the land and to excavate and so forth, in 2001, we signed a contract for $750,000 to improve the playing field at Woodford Hill. The number of hard courts that we have built across Dominica, Pishler, in Bacatel, in Roseau, elsewhere, the construction of the Windsor Park. You know, we built this, build the indoor facility at Massac. So I believe that when you compare the facilities in Dominica in 2000 and look at 2003, this is night and day. Night and day. And of course, we have started some courts in Portsmouth. We'll be building a netball court, I think 2 lawn tennis, and we'll build an indoor facility. So if you think the one in Massac look exciting, the one that we're building in Portsmouth will be even more dramatically so. And this is part of a national policy. There'll also be one next to the grammar school. We're waiting for the Chinese contractors to get out so we can move in. The contract has been signed for this, for an indoor basketball court, netball court, hard court there at the grammar school. And Ministry of Sports need to share these designs with the public. I don't know why they're not doing that. But I think what we need to change, my friend, is our whole attitude and aptitude. You know, and I was listening to the sports program with the sports coordinator this morning on Kyrie FM. And some of the callers highlighted those things. A guy was saying, back in the days, we used to run, we used to exercise, you know. We would go on the field and play every day. So we have a challenge in Dominica where we spend $2 million on a playing field. Nobody uses it during the day, but they want lights. Then we put lights, and nobody uses it at night. So after and the lights cost us a significant sum. A significant sum. Over $150,000, $200,000 to put lights in a playing field. You know, and so I think that we have to look at the school system. And this is what I'm saying, we have moved away from, we have added too many subjects on the 5 hours. And so we had to squeeze out some things, and sports and physical education got squeezed out. And so we need to go back to the grassroots. Trying to make a 40-year-old or 50-year-old person like me a sports person, that doesn't make sense. We have to look for the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old. That's why we have to go back and bring that attitude to them so that we know that for the next 50 years, we have a cohort of young people who are minded in the sports with the mental discipline and the physical discipline to sports and exercise and those things. So we continue to invest. As you know, we're making plans for the construction of the synthetic track in Portsmouth. So there are a number of exciting plans where sports is concerned. The construction of swimming pools, public swimming pools, so people can train and learn to swim and et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to take the whole community, a different approach. The sporting associations need to play a greater part. And not only when we have to go to this international thing, everybody want to have the jacket and the green jacket. You know, I won't call names because there's fellas in here who do that, you know, as officials. So we have to, there has to be a whole change of attitude, because what we had back then wasn't facilities. What we had was a different mindset. And I think to a great extent we have lost that mindset. And I'm not blaming anybody for this. Society has changed and things evolve and people evolve and people change though. So we had a better mindset. You know, sometimes when you are more challenged, you find means of survival. But when you have plenty, you waste. You understand? When you have plenty, you waste. And I think because that there's progress taking place in the country, people are better off. And so what we paid attention to, we no longer pay attention to. And so we would walk more. Now we all have a motor car. Why walk? You know? And so it's not criticism of anybody. We're just having a conversation among ourselves here. And things that we should pay attention to if we want to see a change or an improvement in smaller things that we knew of and mindset. Yes, Carly, please.
You know, I was if you'll permit me, sir, just a follow-up question. We spoke of education reform, and we're also speaking of enterprise development. Will entrepreneurship be a focus in our education so that our learning, our education will be not focused on getting a job, qualified to get a job, but to create jobs?
Well, always will form part, Mr. Durant, will form part of the consultation and review of the education system, and for us to determine as a country what are the 4 or 5 elements that are going to advance in respect to the new system of education in Dominica. But I agree with you entirely that we have to build a system that can promote independence, you know, and use our knowledge to benefit us, rather than waiting on somebody to take advantage of our knowledge to help us.
Yeah. PM, some years ago, our parrots, they were shipped out of Dominica, you know, and, you know, there was a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
I think it's Germany.
Yeah.
Are you in a position to tell us or give us an update as to where they are, and if at all, they will be returning back to Dominica?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As I understand it, part of the arrangement, and it's not the first time we've had parrots, Dominica, the parrots in the United States and elsewhere, as part of, from the forestry department, as part of studies on parrots and the issue of parrots breeding in captivity and how we can learn from that science to address the issue of parrots in captivity in Dominica, and so we can increase the population. Because as we know, all parrots have gone through serious stress. With natural disasters, with people moving into their habitats to either build homes or to have farms and so forth. So you have a number of environmental and human practices which have affected the natural habitats of parrots. And this is why you see parrots come into communities where they were never used to come 20 years ago or 40 years ago, because where they were fetching their food, no longer there. You know, I see parrots at my home in Vegas, you know, something we never saw 20 years ago. So we have this arrangement with some of the researchers there. And there's an exchange of information. As I understand it, the various officials in the ministry who are in constant contact with these people. One of the things I'm going to institute, and is a discussion we've had, is that there must be an arrangement where there are regular visits where the parrots are being kept by forestry officials to ensure that what we agree to, that is what's going on, and the parrots are in good health. And if we believe that our partners are not adhering to what we agree to, then we shall have the parrots return to our country. So it is part of a system that I believe we should encourage, but very carefully so. Very carefully so, and we have to be very clear as to what the people intend to do with the parrots. Are they taking it for pets, or are they taking it really for no? For now, it's for research. I'm making clear, but it's not a practice I believe that we should open up. You understand? Because of the way that we view our parrot as a national bird. But insofar as research in captivity, how do we treat the diseases that parrots would encounter, their feeding behaviors, their mating behaviors, they love scientific things that you can get out by doing the research that we do not have the capacity to do. And if we did, the cost of it would be prohibitive. And so if we partner with folks who have that capacity, then I think we can learn from this. Likewise, the same thing came for frogs. Nobody talk about the frogs. No, I'm preempting it.
So for now, we're not sure if and when they're going to return the parrots.
I'm not saying that we're not sure about if and when. There's not been a discussion about the return. So I don't want to say that they're going to be returned next month. But what I'm saying is that we're going to put a system in place where all officials will go to visit the parrots where they've been kept to ensure that they've been kept and treated in the manner in which we expect them to. You understand? And if they are not, then we shall instruct that they be returned to Dominica. As of now, there is no reason for us to take that action, because as of now, we are satisfied that what we agreed to, that is what's going on. Because these people also provide material support to the forestry department to advance their work. For example, after the hurricane, we got a significant amount of feed for these parrots and technical support and be able to track the parrots and so forth from this international firm. So it's a collaborative effort. All get towards how can we preserve the parrots for our lifetime, because we all agree that the parrots have been on a decline because of natural disasters that we've been subjected to, because of farming practices, because we're now building homes in areas that we should not be building or we have never building before. So we have affected the natural ecosystem and natural habitat of the parrots. And so they've been subjected, like other species in the wild, with the same challenge. Back in the days, you would not be seeing so many manicomb on the road dead. I mean, we'll be eating those things. I mean, they would not be so close in the homes. Agouti wasn't coming here. You had them, they were up in the forest. But because of the hurricanes and the storms and the issue of climate change and the impact on the ecosystems in the forest areas, these animals have been dramatically affected. This is why it's important for us as a country to embark on a more aggressive effort towards the reforestation program. And ensuring that we recreate the forested areas so that we can recreate the ecosystems and habitats of these important animals in our ecosystem.
Question, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm going to ask 2 questions. I've been very silent for the morning. Two questions, PM. Yes. For the camera, let me stand up. Okay. For the camera, sorry. Mr. PM, it seems to be been playing catch up. For example, in 2004, we were having better numbers as it relates to tourism. We were talking about 300-something thousand visitors, and we were ahead of St. Kitts, we were ahead of Antigua. What are these countries doing? Because their numbers are up to 500,000. I mean, St. Kitts may be close to $1 million in terms of million visitors. What are they doing right that we're doing wrong? We're not up to these numbers when we were ahead in 2004. And secondly, Mr. PM, you have been conspicuously silent on the issue of Mehul Choksi, and the investigators are knocking on our door. I just read an article there in The Guardian, so the news is all over. Any comments on Mehul Choksi at this time?
Yeah. Okay. Chris, go ahead. And I'll just close up. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Longshoremen Prime Minister, longshoremen and stevedores at the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority, 18 years ago, their salaries were cut by 33%. Mm-hmm. Compensation was promised to these longshoremen and stevedores. The government said it would intervene to relieve the plight of these employees. Has the government continued to look at that matter, or are you still interested in that matter? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And finally, you mentioned the restructuring of the CBI management team, and some people will be elevated and so on. Is Emmanuel Nantan, who is now the coordinator, is he going to retain his position, or is he going to be elevated? Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. All right. On respect to tourist numbers, I believe, Carl, I may have been focusing on, Matt, I've been focusing on cruise visitors. I don't think that we were ever higher than Antigua. in terms of Antigua number. Antigua is a more mature tourist destination, than us and so forth. We have been making tremendous strides in our tourism. The numbers are increasing. Obviously, COVID-19 affected it. But at the same token, we cannot get to the numbers that we want if we don't have the rooms. And if we don't improve air access. And this is where we've been investing, having more rooms. Because we can't go to Germany and promote Dominica, and then we only have 150 rooms. This is why we invest in hotels, and this is why now we have a dramatically increased hotel stock in Dominica. And Airbnb is taking off in Dominica in a dramatic way. In terms of, so we're certainly seeing an increase in stayover visitors, and that will continue to increase in the years to come. In regards to cruise passengers, there has been a steady increase. There was 1 year we dropped from 500,000 to 300,000 plus because of the absence of Carnival. That was why the drop. Carnival had withdrawn for one reason or the other. They came back after a while. But there are the new cruise companies that are making calls in Dominica. I think what we need to do, there are a couple of things that we need to do in Dominica. Among other things. One, we have to move a little more with greater speed in the construction of our cruise village to create better facilities for vendors, because the situation at the Bayfront has outgrown itself, and that has to be addressed post-haste. And the Ministry of Tourism have been mandated to fast-track those plans and those decisions of the government to implement some of the measures with regards to providing better facilities for the vendors in the Bayfront. And then we need to have continued improvement to our natural sites and additional attractions. This is why we have this developer building the cable car, which we believe will be, because when you look at when we had the aerial tram was able to attract a significant number of people off the cruise ships. You understand? Like in St. Kitts, you have the train. If the train is down in St. Kitts, the numbers will drop. When the train is up and functioning, you will see the numbers either maintain or increase, because that's a major attraction in St. Kitts. And therefore, we have to have those kinds of attractions like a cable car and others to really take a greater advantage of the cruise numbers. So I believe, I'm optimistic, Matt, of for the future where tourism is concerned, both stayover and cruise visitors. And so in the next couple of years, you will see we're coming back up to the 500,000 and eventually to the 1 million in terms of cruise passengers, and getting into the hundreds of thousands where stayover people are concerned. I am very, very optimistic about the future of tourism in Dominica, and with all of the international accolades that we received. We didn't get them, as people say, we paid for them. I don't even know these people, farmers who pay them. They were done independent of us. I saw the publications just like everybody else when they were published. I didn't see them before. I had no preview. And that's what it is. And we're working seriously with all the stakeholders to do what we need to do. And so we have to see tourism as our business and so forth. Yes. That's what I'm saying, that we need to advance some of these things. Obviously, with COVID, you have to redirect resources. So this places a setback in terms of the implementation of some of those critical interventions. But these are things that are back on the government's priority consideration to advance. Yeah. The issue of the Mr. Choksey, well, I mean, the charges of illegal entry in Dominica were dropped, and Mr. Choksey was allowed to leave Dominica with those charges dropped. So as far as Dominica is concerned, we have no more business with Mr. Choksey. So I cannot comment on any other thing except with Mr. Choksey's arrest and detention in Dominica and the charges over to him. And the prosecutors withdrew the charges, and he was allowed to leave. And as far as I know, he's in Antigua, where he has other court matters dealing with. So that's not for us to be preoccupied with.
Part of the investigation includes some of the lawmen in Dominica.
No, there's no concern about this. If anybody has to be questioned or interviewed, then everybody will be questioned and interviewed. That's a normal practice. There's nothing untoward about this. I mean, it's something happened and somebody has to ask a question. Anybody will ask a question, but that's not something for the government or for the Prime Minister to get involved in. It's a matter for law enforcement people if there's an investigation. I really don't get involved in investigation or prosecution. My responsibility as Prime Minister is to ensure that the law enforcement and the prosecution people have the resources that they need to carry their functions. What they do and how they do it, they must do it in accordance with the Constitution, according to the law of Dominica. And that is what we have to ensure. But in terms of the carrying out of their duties, it's not something I get involved in at all. And it's something that is reported to me. I get reports and they tell me, okay, well, what should we do with this? What should we do? No. If a major crime happens in Dominica, I get proper reports from the police. I may call the police and ask them questions and to get clarification on major crimes in Dominica, a murder or major gun bust or something, something like that. But otherwise, on minor things, I really don't get involved in this matter. And the Choxy matter is a minor thing. We arrest Haitians all the time who come in Dominica illegally and others, and so that's a minor thing as far as we're concerned. So that will not be on my board file. No. The longshoremen, I had made a proposal to them some years ago, but I believe we made the error of only speaking to the leadership of the unions, and sometimes people, we bring the politics into this thing, and so speaking to the longshoremen who are retired and sharing with them what I discussed with their leadership, they were shocked to know that I discussed these things with their leadership, because what they were told was completely different from what I said to the leaders. And I know the current leadership, Mr. Roll, I believe, it has a leadership role in the union there, and he's written to me. So I think I need to arrange for me to meet with him so we can discuss the issue and to see how we can bring this matter to a resolution. Obviously, there's an impasse, and it is before arbitration. But I believe if I can get both parties to agree on something that's reasonable, then we can look at something. I think one of the requests of the longshoremen at the time, it was a bit unreasonable in terms of the quantum they were asking for. But I am more than prepared to find some kind of resolution to this. Many of these guys are retired, and I'm sure, as small as it is, if they'll get a check, they'll be happy. So I'm mindful of this, and I'm prepared to engage with them, and maybe we could schedule a meeting as early as next week to meet with them and see how we can advance it. But it's something I've spoken to the port about, and the port lawyers, and they were prepared to engage in some kind of resolution. But obviously, you need two sides to agree. I don't think I can impose myself. I can only impose myself by causing them to meet and negotiate and be the arbiter and so forth. So we look forward to that and to engaging. With regards to the CBI and where Mr. Nanton is concerned, Mr. Nanton will be elevated. Well, I'll announce it. It'll be elevated. But I'll give you more information on this. But thank you very much for this interaction. Again, we don't have to wait for the 2 weeks to call on me. If we have any burning issue that you want to ask me in the meantime, we're available for the press secretary, and most of you have my phone number, so feel free to reach out to me on any question. But we appreciate the encounter, and we appreciate the questions so that we can share with the Dominican public and address the concerns and to provide information to them. And I think it's healthy for democracy. We'll try our best to maintain this commitment of every 2 weeks of engaging you. And if you want to send issues in advance that you believe I should address in my opening comments, then you can do so with the press secretary, so I can elucidate on them a little bit more in some of the pointed response to your questions and so forth. Thank you very much. God bless our country, and let us work together to build this country. There are many attendant challenges, a lot of them because of external factors, but I believe if we work together, certainly we can overcome those challenges, and we're very optimistic for that. Thank you. God bless.